Hi everyone, this is Nicole from Right at Home, and welcome to Day 3 of the National Craft Month celebration with Right at Home and Friends. If you haven't been following along with me this week, then make sure to head over to the Right at Home blog for more information about this video series that I'm hosting with some of my favorite crafty friends and companies. So today I am so excited to have Angie from Concord 9th to challenge us for today's craft project. So she challenged us to use a spectrum of colors, whether it be rainbow, pastels, etc. So let me show you what I created. So I'm going to start off by taking my Misty and placing inside the negative die cut piece I had left over from die cutting my different elements for today's card. And I'm just popping the flower back in, and I love to use these little negative pieces because it helps me line up my stamped images perfectly onto the die cuts, because I can just place it on top, pick it up with the Misty Door, and then ink up and stamp. So to meet today's challenge, I decided to go with a more monochromatic look, so I'm going to be using different shades of blue. So I'm starting here with my base layer for my anemone, and I used Skylight ink from Catherine Pooler. And now for the veins, I'm going to go in with Daydream. And this is a little bit of a darker color, and it's really going to pop against that Skylight color. And I am going to use the little shadow pieces for the petals as well. And I didn't have a blue that was darker and also of a different kind of shade, so what I decided to do was just double stamp with the Skylight again. So with the two layers on top of each other, it will read as though it's darker. Now for the center of the flower, I decided to go in with a contrasting color. So I'm using the Shea Butter ink from Catherine Pooler and stamping that right into the center of the flower. And I love that brightness that it brings to the center of the anemone. And then over top I'll just stamp with Midnight ink, and I'll double stamp that a couple times to make sure it's nice and crisp. And that's my finished flower, so now I can move on to my leaves. So I just kind of twisted my stencil around so that it's a little bit easier and more straight for me to use. And over top I added the first layer, which I'm going to stamp with green tea ink. And I've said this before, but it's one of my favorite greens ever. I just love the tone of it, and it pairs so perfectly with this blue flower. And then for the veins of the leaf, I will be stamping with eucalyptus. So now I can flip that stencil around one more time and pop in my circle die cut. And over top, I'm going to add a sentiment from my His Love set that kind of nestles in there perfectly. And I'm going to line that up so that it's towards the top of the circle, because I knew I wanted to have the flower kind of layer down towards the bottom. So I'm inking that up with Midnight ink again and double and triple stamping it so that it's nice and crisp and dark black. So now I'm going to move on to my background panel, and I have a piece of white cardstock that's die cut with a stitched rectangle that's slightly smaller than an A2 size card base, and I'm going to stamp that with my watercolor background stamp, and I ink that up with Mint to Be ink from Catherine Pooler, and this just kind of brings in another shade of blue, and it's a little bit lighter than the rest and will add a nice contrast to those flowers because it is so much brighter. And now I can just pretty much assemble my pieces. I'm popping the circle up with some foam tape, and then I will do the same with the flower, and I'll also add a little bit of tape runner adhesive to the back of the flower where it overlays the circle. And then I'm going to do a little bit of adjusting to that leaf. I knew I wanted it to kind of come out from each side of the flower, but the orientation of it doesn't allow me to do so. So I cut off the top and the bottom of the stem, and then I'm going to cut it right in half and nestle it around the anemone. Lastly, I'm going to adhere this panel onto the front of a white A2 sized card base, and then I will just add some Nuvo Jewel Drops in the color Limoncello, which matches the Shea Butter ink that we used earlier and just kind of adds a nice embellishment to the card. I love the way this card turned out and the challenge that Angie gave us because it's something so different than I've ever done before. I don't really use a ton of different colors, and the fact that I had to use kind of just one color in a different variety. You could also do rainbow and pastel like I mentioned before, but I decided to do something a little bit different, and I loved playing with all these cool toned blues and greens, and I just love the result. So thank you, Angie, for that challenge. And that finishes my card in today's video. So for more information about the challenge, about the prize, which is a $25 gift certificate to the Concord 9th shop, and there's even an exclusive coupon code to the Concord 9th shop included in today's blog post. So make sure to head over to the Right at Home blog. It will be linked down below in the description bar, and I hope that you're able to participate. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye!